Hello gamers, this is Si, and welcome back to Which Way Games, and welcome back to Which Way Games. Now, why should you never annoy the Doomslayer?
This stops nothing. Earth will be consumed, regardless of what...
You've gotta love the Doomslayer. Now I hope you guys at home are sitting comfortably, as this is a long one. And with that being said, let's go on with the video. Now, growing up, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by some of these classic games, ranging from Zelda, Halo, Rayman, and of course my favourite, Sonic the Hedgehog. And as much as I love my consoles and the fantastic games that they have, over the years I've dipped my toes in and out of PC gaming.
Not bad, not bad.
And speaking of PC gaming, there is a developer that revolutionised the playing field back in the early 90s, and this of course was id Software. But to truly appreciate this legendary developer, we have to go back to the past to see where it all started. All the way back in the late 80s, a trio of talented developers found themselves working for Softdisk. And this small group consisting of John Carmack, Tom Hall and John Romero would eventually go on to form a small group known as Ideas from the Deep. From here the talented group would go on to create other games for Softdisk, but in the background Carmack was working on something quite special, something that was going to be the building blocks of their future success.
Oh, really?
He developed an efficient side-scrolling technique for early PCs, and from here the world was introduced to Dangerous Dave. No, not Dangerous Brian, but it does make me wonder what game would befit the world's most charismatic stuntman. From here, Carmack continued with his experimental techniques within the digital realm of fun, until a certain commander graced MS-DOS operating systems in 1990. This of course was Commander Keen, a side-scrolling platformer starring Billy Blaze, an 8-year-old super genius.
I am smart. Este Marty.
For some, Commander Keen is a throwback to an era of a simpler time, but on the horizon, the world of PC gaming was beginning to change once again.
Oh my.
And this is where in 1992, the influential Wolfenstein 3D was created, going on to become the granddaddy of all first-person shooters. Utilising ray casting, Wolfenstein 3D allowed gamers to play from a first-person perspective. Now this type of gameplay had been done before, but not quite to the professional standards that id Software had come up with. Proving to be highly popular with gamers, id Software were riding high on the success of Wolfenstein 3D. But knowing that the success would soon wind down, this legendary development team would go on to create a video game that became one of the most influential titles for the world of gaming. This of course would be the infamous Doom, one of my favourites, and perhaps one of the best classic FPS games of all time. Now Doom graced PC gaming all the way back in 1993, where gamers would take on the role of a space marine as he makes his way through the base of the UAC, using extreme force in order to survive against the evil forces of hell. Now I do remember first encountering Doom on the 486, where the images of Doom Guy decimating the demon horde is permanently etched in my memory. Such was the ever-growing popularity of Doom that it was rumoured that other gaming developers were requesting id Software to overlook some of their upcoming games. Now there is some truth to this, especially with a wave of titles being dubbed Doom clones, but that's for another time.
Nice.
From the success of Doom, a sequel would follow known as Doom 2, a welcome return to the now legendary series. Doom 2 continues the story of Doom Guy and saw the return of the extreme violence, fast gameplay and intense action. There were new levels, more weapons and uglier enemies to contend with, which of course made Doom 2 that much harder to complete, but yet gamers still wanted more, and so id Software took note and released add-on patches for Doom 1 and 2. The world of gaming was leaving the realm of 2D behind and entering a new territory with 3D graphics. And making use of this new development tool, id Software went on to create the highly popular Quake.
That's pretty good.
With its Lovecraftian setting, Quake for some was the perfect successor to Doom, with its next generation graphics, complex level design and over-the-top violence. I remember seeing Quake for the very first time and thinking to myself, wow, this game is something else. But if you play certain rock music with Quake, it brings a whole new gaming experience. And very much like its predecessor, Quake would go on to have plenty of add-ons. And of course, id Software were already at work in creating a sequel to the highly fantastic Quake. This is where in 1997, Quake 2 blasted its way onto the gaming scene with a fresh new look. Gone was the Lovecraftian setting of the previous game, and in its place was a bigger focus on the realm of science fiction. The decision to step away from the realm of fantasy was a breath of fresh air for id Software, and with this, gamers absolutely loved the science fiction setting of Quake 2. Everything that made the original a hit had returned, but it was the multiplayer option that made Quake 2 a must-have for gamers on the PC. This is where the modding community took Quake 2 under its wing, where gamers will go on to create their own levels, leading on to the path of becoming game developers. As before with Doom, Quake 1 and 2 were ported over to gaming consoles at the time. The Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation ports of Quake 1 and 2 may not have the same polish as the PC versions, but they did garner a following from console gamers.
Whoa, nice graphics. I'd like to get my hands on that game.
As the 90s were coming to a close, id Software were well aware of the endless possibilities of internet gaming, and this is where they would introduce the third installment to the Quake series. Unlike id Software's previous games, Quake 3 solely focused on multiplayer action, and with its minimalist approach to gaming, Quake 3 was very popular with gamers, especially for those that perfected the art of rocket jumping. A technique that I've used in other FPS titles over the years, but it does come with its own risks. As time progressed in the face of gaming ever changing, id Software would make an announcement that would shock the world of gaming. This caused some friction between some of the staff at id Software, but ultimately, Doom 3 went ahead, going on to become a commercial success. For fans of the originals, Doom 3 had a somewhat different approach for the mythos, but this new style of gameplay, mixed with a scary atmosphere, was the perfect recipe for yet another successful game for id Software. Doom 3 was everywhere, and it would go on to garner 2 add-on games, as well as a feature film.
Indeed.
And from here, id Software would fade into the background, working on a few special games. Eventually, as the years sped by, id Software would go on to release Rage 1 and 2. Now the Rage series did leave some gamers divided, but it was in 2016 that a violent franchise from the past would come back to the world of gaming, and this would be Doom 2016.
Awesome.
The spirit of Doom had returned, with gameplay retaining aspects of the original. However, Doom 2016 was more about constant movement, bigger and tougher demons, as well as over-the-top weapons. Doom 2016 was fantastic, and for the success of this amazing game, a sequel would follow, and this was in the form of Doom Eternal. Gameplay for Doom Eternal still remained the same, however, everything was turned up to 100, and the mantra of if it moves shoot it was ever present, and from this, a whole new legion of fans were created for the Doom series. Some of these fans even went back to the original games of the 90s, just to bring their Doom experience up a notch.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
From its humble beginnings at soft disk, id Software had become a part of gaming history, becoming one of the most influential gaming developers of all time. And even though the original founding members have left this amazing company, id Software is still making games 30 years later.
Yes!
Now some of the titles I have talked about in this video I will return to, including a particular one called Daikatana.
No!
Oh God! Overall, the games created by id Software have become a part of gaming history. Without this iconic games developer, the world of gaming may not have been blessed with other FPS titles, such as Half-Life, Duke Nukem 3D, and even Halo. Now, will id Software grace the world of gaming with yet another violent-filled Doom title? Or will gamers be blessed with a new Quake game? Either way, id Software have created some of the world's most influential games. But my biggest question is, how different would the digital realm of fun be if id Software never existed? An interesting question indeed, and one we may never know the answer to. But anyway, come back next time when Nintendo entered the world of 16-bit and released some of the iconic games over the years. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next game.